all good things must come to an end, but sometimes we really wish they wouldn't. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at the life and death of the Netflix Marvel television universe. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. This collection of interconnected series, much like its big screen counterpart, did something unprecedented in its own medium. Whereas the core MCU continues to dominate the box office, this remarkable chapter in streaming service history has seemingly come to an end.
What does that mean?
With the entire slate of shows now officially canceled, we wanted to take this opportunity to review and celebrate its successes while also taking a deeper look into where it all went wrong, as well as its ultimate cause of death. Jessica Jones Season 3, scheduled for release in 2019, is the last offering of Netflix's gritty corner of the MCU. Depending on its exact release date, that means that from birth to death, the Netflix Marvel television universe lasted just 5 years. In that time, Netflix subscribers were treated to a staggering 13 seasons worth of television, consisting of 161 one-hour episodes of gritty, grounded, and relatable superheroics. Despite its short lifespan, all those involved should be incredibly proud of what they collectively accomplished. And yet, almost as impressive as the superheroic feat of putting the Marvel Netflix television universe together is the speed at which it declined. Apparently, a system that can pump out high-quality television at an unprecedented rate and volume can implode just as quickly. As recently as summer 2018, people were still talking about the possibility of a Moon Knight series, among other potential candidates for the Netflix model.
There is more to the moon than childish stories.
Just a few months later in October, Iron Fist was canceled, followed by Luke Cage just a few days later. This was the beginning of the end. But how did it all go so wrong so quickly? Let's go back to the beginning. Netflix's first offering of Marvel original content was Daredevil Season 1, released on April 10th, 2015. There was little doubt that the character had fans, but considering the bad taste left in the mouth of the general public by the Ben Affleck version of Matt Murdock, it was also risky.
Didn't see the movie. I'm sure it's a funny joke, but I didn't see it.
Thankfully, with showrunner Stephen S. DeKnight at the helm, the series succeeded in redeeming the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. Daredevil was more than a solid showing. It was a bold declaration that Marvel characters could equally thrive on the small screen. Perhaps even more importantly, it showed that Marvel was willing to deviate from the established tone of their films by doing something more grounded, gritty, and dramatic, thus expanding their demographic while capitalizing on their existing fan base. With nearly perfect scores on Rotten Tomatoes, Daredevil Season 1 resonated with critics and viewers alike. Daredevil was excellent, but a single property does not a shared universe make. In this regard, much rested on the shoulders of Marvel's second series, Jessica Jones.
What are you doing in my apartment?
This is my apartment.
Its performance and reception would decide whether Daredevil was a one-off success, or if Netflix and Marvel had a clear vision and replicable model on their hands. Jessica Jones landed on November 20th, 2015 to rave reviews. The series did more than complement Daredevil. It broke new ground in terms of both its treatment of a female heroine and in tackling difficult social issues. It was a game changer, and with its release, Marvel and Netflix earned a newfound level of respect from viewers and critics alike. The fledgling Marvel television universe had officially arrived. 2016's second season of Daredevil was a slight decline in quality, but it was still well received and successfully laid the groundwork for the Punisher to carry his own series. With the release of Luke Cage later that year, the universe achieved yet another big win with its socially conscious and engaging narrative, rock-solid cast, and the way it embraced and celebrated its Harlem setting. Sadly, this narrative of constant forward momentum was bound to falter eventually. Much like the first phase of MCU movies built towards a massive event film in the form of the Avengers, the Marvel Netflix universe was similarly laying the groundwork for an epic crossover of its own, The Defenders.
Who sent out the invites?
After introducing Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, only one key player remained: Iron Fist. He was the piece of the puzzle that had people most concerned from the outset, and unfortunately, as predicted, the creative team struggled to bring him to the small screen in a satisfying way.
Drugs make me feel like I'm underwater.
Iron Fist was the universe's first real misstep, cracks in a universe that, until then, seemed invincible.
Replace it with energy, abundance, trust.
Iron Fist as a white martial artist espousing Eastern mysticism wasn't a good fit for 2017, generating a lot of negative conversation even before the show debuted. When it was released, things only got worse. Hero Danny Rand was deemed bland, and the overarching story failed to really draw viewers in. Perhaps most egregious for a series centered around martial arts, the fight scenes were notably lackluster. Missteps are inevitable for any franchise. You learn from the mistake and adjust. It would seem, however, that for Marvel and Netflix, the failure of Iron Fist had a far more insidious impact than anyone could have predicted or foreseen.
The only reason anybody is interested in me is because of the fist.
Netflix remains relatively tight-lipped about exact viewing numbers, but the general consensus seems to be that viewership lagged for all series from that point on. Following the logic of the Avengers, The Defenders should have been a huge draw, but it arrived to surprisingly little fanfare. It did well with binge watchers, but Variety reported that at the time of release, it was the least viewed Netflix Marvel series within its first month. In terms of reviews, it was generally well received, but most were quick to point out its flaws and call it less than the sum of its parts. The Netflix Marvel universe was losing steam, and at the most unlikely of times. Subsequent seasons of Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage all performed well critically speaking. Even Iron Fist Season 2 showed improvement. But the buzz around all of the above notably declined. In the absence of clear viewership numbers, journalists turned to social media to gauge subscriber engagement, and the numbers paint a picture of diminishing returns. A definitive cause for this is hard to pin down. Perhaps the novelty of these heroes simply wore off. Many people prefer their superheroes more lighthearted, like in the Marvel films. Others have suggested that the television universe self-destructed by oversaturating the market, literally giving people too much interconnected content to watch. Whatever the case, Iron Fist and The Defenders stand out together as a notable turning point. Though interconnected universes can create a rabid and engaged fan base, by the same token, a misstep within one arguably carries greater stakes. Fans invest far more time in a shared universe than a contained franchise. You naturally want to see the whole picture, but if that necessitates sitting through 10 to 13 hours of content you don't care about, well, maybe the universe isn't worth the effort anymore. When one piece of an interconnected universe disappoints, you risk turning people off of the whole thing, including the elements they previously enjoyed. Even with diminished viewership, you'd think that Netflix and Marvel would endeavor to save this once great project, be it through the introduction of new series or by doubling down on the ones that did work. The thing is, Marvel and Netflix are not one and the same. They collaborated on this venture, yes, but their overall goals don't always align. And while the Marvel-Netflix universe was already on the decline in terms of viewership, there are two developments that truly sealed its fate: a changing approach to content at Netflix and the development of Disney's very own streaming service, Disney+. Netflix has long been seen as the champion of canceled shows, giving many a popular series an extended lease on life after their networks gave them the axe. But of late, Netflix has been the one swinging the hatchet. It all comes down to numbers. Shows that Netflix produces in-house are more lucrative for the streaming service. Those that are produced by outside studios and only distributed by Netflix come with more strings attached and limited profits. Now that it's an entertainment juggernaut in its own right, one that more and more creators are interested in working with directly, Netflix appears to be prioritizing in-house programming. The result? Shows produced by other studios like American Vandal, 7 Seconds, and the various Marvel shows become more vulnerable to cancellation. Considering the cost of Marvel shows, the declining viewership, and the steep licensing fees that Netflix pays for them, the numbers no longer add up.
You can't just go. I mean, you have a life.
Of course, even if Netflix wasn't changing its priorities, the announcement of Disney Plus throws a serious wrench into things. To be clear, Disney did not pull the plug on the Netflix Marvel shows. As Netflix's chief content officer Ted Sarandos has stated, it's Netflix who controls if these series get renewed or canceled. Be that as it may, when your partner announces its intention to become one of your biggest competitors, it forces you to reevaluate your strategy. The Netflix Marvel universe in its own time was arguably the best live-action Marvel television being made. With Disney Plus producing direct tie-ins to their movie universe, using their substantial means, massive cast of characters, and big-name stars, the Netflix Marvel series gets severely overshadowed. Disney Plus didn't need to actively kill the Marvel Netflix series. It guaranteed the demise of the latter simply by existing.
It's really not that complicated.
So, here's to the Marvel Netflix universe. And we would have loved to have seen them adapt even more of Marvel's lesser-known characters. similarly giving them an opportunity to shine. Sadly, while streaming services have created new and exciting opportunities to experiment with content, it's still a young, fast-paced, and ever-changing environment. An innovation like the Marvel Netflix television universe can help change the industry, and then, in just a few short years, cease to exist. Though our small-screen heroes may be gone, they won't soon be forgotten, having left their mark on the superhero genre and television history. Then again, the competition could always step in to save the day. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.